The Supreme Court has upheld a federal gun control law intended to protect victims of domestic violence. The justices ruled 8-1 in favor of a ban on firearms for people under restraining orders from their spouses or partners. Justice Clarence Thomas represented the dissenting vote. President Biden praised the outcome, saying domestic abuse survivors can still count on critical protections. National Rifle Association released a statement saying, quote, the Supreme Court's narrow opinion offers no endorsement of red flag laws or of the dozens of other unconstitutional laws that the NRA is challenging. Here to talk more about the Supreme Court's decision is Dalton, Executive Director of the D.C. Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Don, thanks so much for coming on today. We appreciate it. First, explain the importance of today's decision for us.
So what we know is over 30 years ago, the creation of this federal prohibition of domestic violence abusers having access to firearms when a protective order is in place against them created safety for many, many survivors of domestic violence over the last 30 years. And so what was really critical and key in this case was ensuring that those same protections remained in place and that survivors could rely on the federal law that has been in existence for the last 30 years.
Yeah, and talk to us a little bit more about that. I mean, what this means, really means to those that are domestic abuse survivors, the ones that you work with too.
So what we know about domestic violence is, and the intersection of firearms specifically, is that when there is a firearm in the home where domestic violence is occurring, the likelihood of homicide and murder to occur of the victim of domestic violence increases by 5 times. And so the reality that firearms poses a very lethal outcome for not only survivors of victims of domestic violence, but the community at large is so critical of an issue. Firearms has been an issue that we have been discussing as a country for quite some time. I will say that the justice's decision to uphold the federal prohibition does keep in line with the regulation and names it constitutional, that survivors of domestic violence have this right to ensure that their abusers have this prohibition in place.
Yeah, and this was really nearly a unanimous decision with both conservatives and liberal justices joining together for this 8-1 decision. What is a signal to you?
So I can talk about some of the exchanges that I've had with survivors throughout the day today and what this means to them. And these are survivors that we worked with in developing a brief that we filed in this Supreme Court case. We centered their stories, what their experiences were. We let them give the rationale, give the reason as to why this prohibition needed to stay in place. And I had exchanges of tears, of overwhelming joy and elation that this federal prohibition remains in place. We know that there are survivors of domestic violence out there who have not reached out for help before, who didn't know where to turn. At the end of the day, there are resources in every community across this country to assist survivors of domestic violence. No one deserves the abuse that is happening within their homes. We will continue to center the protections and needs that survivors have to ensure that domestic violence is working towards ending as opposed to scaling up.
Yeah, and it's so important to know. And before we let you go, any final thoughts, or if people are in a situation like this, a domestic violence situation, and they feel like they have nowhere to turn to, what advice would you give them?
We always tell folks, access the resources that are available to you. 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE, is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They are a 24/7 resource to every person in the country that is experiencing domestic violence. They can connect you with local resources in your community to assist you and help navigate how to move forward safely move forward into another phase of your life. What we also want to share for folks who are the support people in the lives of survivors is believe them. Trust their timeline. They know the dangerousness of their particular abuser better than anyone else. It is a scary and overwhelming time. And actually the most dangerous time is leaving an abusive relationship. And so the survivor really needs to be the one making the decisions. And sometimes it can be frustrating as a support person, to see them make decision that doesn't make all the sense to you, but they know that situation best. And so knowing that survivors have options and that there is a support system for them on an ongoing way is so critical as we always are navigating to ensure safety.
Absolutely, Dawn. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about this. We appreciate it. God bless.
Absolutely. Take care.